I know we're working on borrowed time, so
Sure.
if you'll forgive me, we'll maybe skip the pleasantries and I'll start asking you some stuff that's on my mind.
Sure.
So tell me, would a large iron ore mine like the one Gogebic Taconite wants to create in the Pinocchio Hills, overall, would that be a good or a bad thing for northern Wisconsin in your view?
Well, I think we always have to balance job creation with protecting our natural resources. And our natural resources are so important to so many people in Wisconsin, but also we do need to be creating more good paying jobs in Wisconsin and putting the emphasis on that. I think there was legislation that was on the table that balanced those two, made sure that we could go ahead and create jobs, but also protect our natural resources. That was legislation by Senator Jauch and Senator Schultz, and I think that if we had gone ahead with that, we would have been able to do both. But I think the legislation that was passed did not put the safeguards in place that really are needed to make sure we have that balance.
Okay, switching topics a little bit. With regard to Act 10, what I've read a little bit about early in your campaign, you've said collective bargaining for public employees should be a right for public employees, but you haven't quite said yet, I'd go so far as to repeal Act 10. For the thousands and thousands of folks in Wisconsin who are strongly against Act 10, does that message provide a problem for them in getting their vote?
Well, what I can tell you is the approach that I would take, and certainly, there were changes that needed to be made to balance our budget. But Act 10 went well beyond that and also did it in a way that was divisive, leaving our state fractured and weakened. As governor, I would have made sure that I negotiated fairly but toughly, for the changes made, and done that through collective bargaining. I think it's important that our public sector employees do have a voice. I spent a lot of my career at Trek Bicycle, and I know from that your organization's success comes from being able to have a qualified, committed workforce that is motivated to help in accomplishing the mission. I think we need the same in our public sector, whether it's our teachers or firefighters or our police. So we need to be able to attract and retain a great workforce. We have to make sure that they are committed but also accountable for the mission. So I think in moving forward, we need to focus on how we can accomplish that.
Okay, so in the part of the state where I'm from, the Northwoods, you mentioned politics, you mentioned campaigns, and oftentimes what I hear from folks or see from folks is they kind of roll their eyes and say, my goodness, the attack ads, the negative ads. If I could just take that out of politics, it'd be so much better. Your campaign and groups supporting you, can we expect to see attack ads? Can we expect to see negative ads from those sources?
Well, what I can tell you, Ben, is I want to be focused on how we move Wisconsin forward, and I think that's a positive message. I think we build on the assets that Wisconsin has, tourism and agriculture, manufacturing, high tech. We really have so many possibilities in the state, and what I want my campaign to be about is to be talking about those possibilities, making sure we're focused on creating jobs, on the things that the people of Wisconsin really care about. So that's going to be my message throughout the campaign, and making sure we have leadership that brings people together so that we're doing our best work, that does put problem solving ahead of the politics.
As I'm sure you know, Governor Walker, in his 2010 campaign for governor, said, I promise Wisconsinites that I'll create 250,000 jobs for Wisconsin. Looks pretty likely that he's going to fall short of that. Is that going to be a central theme of your campaign, making that clear to folks how he has fallen short, if he indeed does?
Well, I think, again, I want to be focused on what my approach would be. And I'm a fourth generation Wisconsinite, born and raised. My great-grandparents were farmers. My grandfather delivered the mail, and my mom was the first to go to college. The values that I grew up on are the values that many people in Wisconsin did, and I think one of those values is, you don't make promises you can't keep. And so my promise as governor would be that every day, 110% of my focus and energy will be on the people of Wisconsin and make sure we're addressing the issues that are most important to them, and that's job creation. And I'll give it 110% every single day. That would be my promise.
Would a Democratic primary be good or bad for you?
Well, I think, again, I'm focused, I wouldn't get into this race unless I had a good chance of winning the entire race. And so that's what I'll be focused on. And, I respect everyone's individual decision to decide whether it makes sense for them to run or not. But I'm excited to be in this campaign and excited to be the next governor of Wisconsin.
What's your message to folks that say, look, you're a wealthy person, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a millionaire, that makes it tough for you to relate to the issues facing middle class folks? What's your response to people like that?
Well, as I mentioned, my background, my family's background is relatively modest, with my grandparents, great-grandparents being farmers and my grandfather delivering the mail. And the values that I grew up on are the values that many of the people in Wisconsin did. And I'll take that, into this race. I want to make sure, again, over my 30-year career, I've worked hard like many people. I started, with a lemonade stand when I was little and summer jobs when I was 14. And I'm proud of the career that I've had. And so, I think is what the people of Wisconsin are going to care about. Am I bringing to this race the things that are going to be necessary to lead this state and to make sure we're creating a vibrant, healthy economy?
If you're elected, last one, you got it. If you're elected, what's the first thing you do in office? What's the first thing you do in the executive office, or perhaps the first legislation you push for? What's the first thing you do?
Well, certainly I'll be focused on creating jobs. We have an unemployment rate, of 6.8%, and next door in Minnesota it's 5.1%. We have to make sure that we are building the foundation and setting the priorities that are what the people of Wisconsin care about. So first and foremost, I'll be reviewing all the different programs that we have and talking with folks. I want the state to be a good partner with our local communities, and seeing how we can help support them in creating jobs in local areas. When I was Commerce Secretary, the paper mill in Park Falls closed. We made it a priority to say, how do we bring people together? How do we make sure we get that open? It was really important to not only the people of Park Falls, but that whole area. That was 300 good paying jobs. We focused on that, got it reopened, and it's still open today.
We're out of time. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Ben.
I appreciate it.